Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Kylie Vale channel. This is pretty much all around the world, not just in China, but China's a big country and has a large market with large cities, a lot of red light districts, which means tons of fun at night, right? Not saying that this doesn't exist in the West, but just a small portion of it in the West, as you know, most cities aren't mega cities in the West, like, you know. But anyway, let's get into it. This woman's beautiful, but she's pissed off. And we all know why guys do this.
If your husband is getting involved with a bar girl, I suggest you take a minute to hear my story. This happened to me. At first, I never imagined my husband could fall for one of those women. I thought he was just going to those places for fun, something harmless. But over time, I realized that wasn't the case. At first, he told me he was only going for work-related social events.
And it probably started out that way because you got to understand, a lot of people in the professional world have a lot of stress going on in their lives. Like when they leave the office, they don't want to go home to a complaining wife, right? So a lot of times, these girls at these bars and clubs and massage places, they make these guys feel better than what their wives will make them feel like, right? They're not going to nag and complain with these guys because they're customers. So they're going to get offered paid services to do anything to make a fantasy, right? So they'll get a fantasy with those women before they'll get a fantasy with the person that they married or thought loved them.
That it was all for networking. I trusted him. But the truth is, he started going to the same bar repeatedly.
He became a regular. It happens with a lot of guys.
Always calling the same girl to accompany him. At first, I thought it was just a distraction. But then he started acting strange. Spending more time away from home. And showing less interest in being with me. That's when I found out he was emotionally involved with that girl.
Uh-oh.
When I confronted him, I heard all the usual excuses. He said she was different, that she was special, that she understood him in ways I didn't.
And see, a lot of times, these guys, like some of these guys, they're not going to these women just to try to, have sex with them or whatever. A lot of times, they just want somebody to talk to or somebody that's going to listen to them. And being that these women offer special services, they're going to listen to their problems, even though they probably don't care, but they'll probably show compassion and, engage in the conversation.
It broke me. I thought, how could he let himself get carried away like this? But now I understand. These women know exactly what they're doing. They are experts at creating an illusion. In the bar,
They're basically psychologists with a twist. If you look at it, these girls are usually just psychologists that offer sexual services. That's all it is.
they behave provocatively. But outside, they present themselves casually, dressing simply, looking so normal and approachable. It creates a false sense of purity, making them seem different from others. But it's all calculated. They make the man feel like he's experiencing something unique, when, in reality, they treat everyone the same way. In my husband's case, she managed to spark a sense of possessiveness in him. He started spending money recklessly, buying her gifts, sending her money, and becoming more and more trapped in this emotional web. When they finally slept together, she made a point of not accepting any payment,
Oh,
saying it was because the moment felt right. That was the breaking point. She managed to make him believe it was love, when, in reality, it was just part of her game to keep taking more from him. If I can give you one piece of advice, don't ignore the signs. Pay attention to his behavior. And most importantly, never think this is your fault. Men who fall into these traps are driven by vanity, by the need to feel desired. But in the end, it's up to them to open their eyes to the truth. If you're going through something like
okay, so I'm like this. So if your wife didn't care about you, why would these club girls care about you? The club girls just want to get in your pocket. But see, you got to separate mentally. You're just going to these places for fun and experience. Kind of like you go on a vacation because you want to have a good time. Well, it's the same thing as a source. it's like this is comparable to somebody that would rather stay at home and play video games versus going out to the club or any other entertainment establishment for fun. So, I mean, if you just keep it casual with these people, you should be cool. But I guess when these guys become regulars to these establishments, they kind of develop feelings. But it's up to you to still keep it casual or not, or just understand that the experience is limited.
Like this. Know that you're not alone.
为什么男人啊逃不过夜场上班的那些女人的手？
Why can't men escape the women who work in nightclubs? Women, by nature, are great nurturers, especially those who work in bars, KTVs, and massage parlors.
Yeah, because they're offering an illusion, a fantasy, to make these guys that come in and feel it's called good customer service. You pay for good service.
They are in the right place at the right time with all the perfect factors aligned. What do I mean by that? At night, emotions are running high. Most plots and schemes happen after 10 p.m. when reason takes a break and emotions start to take over. Men, tired from the day, go to these places to unwind and have some fun. So, of course, men walk right into their hands. These women are in an advantageous position, with a constant stream of men entering their aquariums, and they are paying to get in. Do you think a woman working from 9 to 5 in an office could compete with this? Most of the men who frequent these places are wealthy, with annual salaries ranging from tens of thousands to even millions of yuan. And what's even more interesting is that many of these men are married with...
And see, they did a study that married men make more money than single men. And also, you got to understand, these guys, these married guys, they're business owners. Like, they don't work just a regular job. Like, they have a few sources of incomes. Like, are they using their investment money to splurge the money on these girls? Because, you know, that's pretty much how it is. It's like they're using the family's money, take out money, equity from the house, just to have a little money to splurge on entertainment. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just like these guys that get obsessed with these female streamers. I think guys spend more money on female streamers than they do at these bar girls.
fat and unattractive wives at home. But when they meet a young, attractive woman at one of these places, they get easily swept away. I know many men who are business owners or high-level executives. They go to these places. The office workers who stay late don't have the time or money to go to such places. Even if they did, they'd be so tired that they just want to sleep when they get home, and when they wake up the next morning, they'd be back to work.
Yeah, and see, you got to remember, the average person has a long commute home from their work, so they spend 4 hours in traffic getting to work and leaving work to get back home. So by the time they get home, if they can't find a place nearby their job, they're not even going to have the energy because it's going to take them too long to get home. So the regular 9 to 5 office people, Monday through Friday, you really don't have time to do this because on the weekends you don't want to do nothing because you're so exhausted from the work week.
So these men during the day are high-quality professionals, but there's no chance that these women in nightclubs would have any shot with them given the circumstances. These women are trained professionals, learning the art of seduction. For example, if a man sends them money, they refuse it. Even if they accept, they always give back a larger amount.
What?
Or they'll say something like, "How can I take your money? I can make my own. I know how hard you work for yours." These words make the man think this woman is so inspiring. And with her slender body, the dim lighting, the physical contact, the subtle fragrance, the sound of her high heels, and her long legs in stockings, he gets emotionally involved. That's when he falls in love. Believe me, falling in love is simple. It could be from a single sentence or a small gesture. That's the magic of love. Love doesn't require a meticulous plan like starting a business. It's more about the moment, something that happens spontaneously. These women know how to play the game. They know that the key is to make the man want more. The more he can't have, the more he desires. The feeling of not being able to have creates an irresistible longing. Let me give you an example. Imagine you and a woman are alone in a room. You've just taken a shower and want to go over and undress her. She lets you and you start kissing. But when you try to go further, she uses her foot to push against your chest and says, "Slow down, don't rush." At that moment, you're experiencing the game that women who work in nightclubs know how to play, the feeling of wanting more, always on the edge of getting it but never fully reaching it. Now you understand why men love going to these places, right? If you're still confused or you've fallen for a woman who works in a nightclub and don't know what to do, watch my first video or come talk to me. I can help you. I'm the one who understands you best.
She's a therapist. Okay.
你接触的夜场的女孩子。
Guys, let me tell you my story. The longer I spent getting to know girls from the clubs, the more I realized that, most of the time, they're just pretending. They might act like they love you, but in reality, they're just after your money.
It's part of the service. They're supposed to be like that. But mind you, there are some that aren't good at faking it and will display attitude. It's crazy.
Unfortunately, I was one of those guys who didn't realize this right away and ended up believing I was experiencing true love. I know that for us men, true love is something rare and valuable. And because of that, we're often willing to do anything for it. And that's exactly what she took advantage of. I met a girl at a club, and right from the start, she seemed different. She wouldn't accept my money no matter what. When I wanted to pay for drinks, she insisted I not spend so much, saying we could go somewhere cheaper. Every time I went to the club, no matter where she was working, she would find a way to come and join me. She seemed to always be thinking of me, always trying to please me. I started to think that she really loved me, but deep down, I knew I couldn't offer her a stable future, and that weighed on my conscience.
And see, and that's where the limits are at. See, you have a bunch of guys that are coming in here, they fall in love with these women, but they know that they can't really pursue the women the way they want to. Like, they can't ask them, why are you in this life? I could get you out of this. No, you can't, because most of the guys in there could barely afford their own life. So if she gives up what she does to be with you, do you make enough to support the both of y'all? Probably not. But mind you, a lot of rich men, or should I just say people in the corporate world, inherit these places. So they have the money to splurge and buy these women gifts. But then that's a different level than actually moving in with them and then actually trying to make a life with them and having a relationship. Because see, even though there's a large number of guys that work in these career sectors have the money, you also have a lot of large young people that are barely making it in their apartment, or they live with family and they're frequenting those places too. So it's not all rich people that come to these establishments for entertainment. There's also a lot of guys that only make enough money for themselves, but then they still like one of the girls there and they want to be in a relationship with them.
That's when I started transferring money into her Alipay account, thinking I was showing her how much I cared. In 6 months, I spent over 300,000 yuan on her. Even then, I still believed she really cared about me. But then, I started noticing something strange. She never did anything for me. Nothing meaningful. The only thing she bought for me during all that time was a cheap razor. That's when I started to get confused. I still believed she loved me because she was always worrying about me. But at the same time, I realized something wasn't right.
And see, you gotta remember, most of the girls, the men that they see, they don't even like them like that. Like, these women wouldn't even give these guys time of the day, even if they didn't work in that establishment. But being that they want the money and they want to get paid because they have their own survival to worry about, they're going to take pretty much whoever. So they're not really judging by how you look or how tall or skinny or fat you are.
Her love seemed like just a facade. I realized that what I was going through was something that many men experience when they enter the world of clubs. Being manipulated by someone who just wants to take advantage.
And see, it's not just the nightlife where guys get taken advantage of either. A lot of guys are getting taken advantage of by their wives at home too. So it's pretty much the same thing. You just got to keep one eye open like CBS. Because most men are married to women that don't even care about them. Just like these club girls don't care about the guys that they inherited and offer service to. Now, I guess maybe time to time they will experience a customer that they actually want to have a life with or have feelings for. But that's hit or miss.
They know how to use the idea of love to get money from customers.
Duh.
And here's my biggest lesson. These girls might show affection, but that affection is never real. It's part of their job. What I gave her was genuine feeling,
And money.
while all she gave me was financial interest. If I could go back, I would have avoided falling for her. Because in the end, I'm the one who lost. The result of getting involved with her is that I ended up with no money and, Worse, no real reciprocation. If you're in this situation, thinking you're living true love, stop and think. I was naive. Watch my first video or come talk to me if you need help.
And just remember, what happened to him is pretty much the same thing as with most guys that are trying to date some women that they thought liked them and they were never into them. Because once you close your wallet, she closes her legs.
Don't let what happened to me happen to you.
This girl asked me why wealthy men fall in love with women who work in nightclubs, and if I could explain the reason. I answered like this. Dear, everything you can't understand goes beyond your scope of knowledge. For example, when women see other women wearing stockings, high heels, and hear the sound of those heels, you don't feel anything, and sometimes even think it's disgusting. But we men get excited when we see and hear this. Wealthy men fall in love with women who work at night the same way celebrities have behaviors that we can't understand with conventional thinking.
Oh.
To understand this, you need to start from a practical point of view. When you accumulate life experiences, you begin to understand. Right now, your way of thinking is that of a child.
Oh.
Since birth, up until now, the formation of your opinions has already been completed. From here, unless something changes significantly, your perceptions of life will stay at that point. If you try to understand the world with your limited knowledge, you will find that there are many things that will leave you speechless. You will only understand all of this when you begin to peel off layer by layer of your thoughts and perspectives, and through the pain, reach a new level. This is the process of self-awareness and understanding the world around you. I'm not insulting you by saying you are still a child. This happens because, throughout life, people hold on to an idealized view of the world and comfort themselves with it.
Yeah, basically he's telling you to wake up. When you wake up from sleep, you're still dreaming. Once you wake up, the world is not a dream.
It can be called trying to preserve beauty, or, in harsher terms, a lack of experience. Let me explain. When a rich man falls in love with a woman who works in a nightclub, he is not in love with the woman herself, but with the feeling he has when he is with her. This feeling has nothing to do with her job. It's like earning millions of yuan a year.
Yeah, it's the same. It's equivalent to earning money you didn't think you was going to earn, because you got to understand, these guys that are dealing with women that work in the clubs and the red light districts, a lot of these women look a lot better than anybody they have a chance of marrying or starting a family with. You have to remember that too, because a lot of these guys are married to ugly and overweight, obese pigs. Let's just be honest. That, especially over here in the West, like a lot of guys are just married to booger wolves.
If you don't splurge, even spending a lot, you will never spend all your money. You wake up every day to have fun. After 10 years of playing around, you get tired and feel like the world isn't interesting anymore. The biggest suffering in your daily life is boredom. Even with all the women you've seen, none of them excite you anymore. At this point, you go to a bar, meet a girl to chat, and you feel really happy. From there, you begin to realize that when you're with her, you find new enjoyment. Your world stops being boring. And at that point, you don't care about her identity. To you, it doesn't matter, because you're enjoying yourself. You don't mind if she's with you for your money. The important thing is the fun. And you know that, even if she spends your money, she will never be able to spend all you have. The point is that you feel happy when you are with her. Therefore, the pain of rich men is that they don't know how to spend money to make themselves happier.
But they seem to know how to invest, though. That's my thing. That's the whole point of being rich, so you can make investments that regular people cannot. But some of them just happen to invest in the wrong things, like women that don't care about them. But like I said, a lot of these guys are married to women that don't care about them anyway, so it's the same thing when they go out to the nightclub. They still dealing with a bunch of women that don't care about them. They just care about what they could do for them, like give them money.
They don't care about how much they spend. What matters is the pleasure and fun. If you want to know more about this, watch my first video or come talk to me. Let me share my story with you. Some time ago, I met a woman who seemed perfect.
Oh boy.
She was beautiful, caring, and knew exactly how to treat someone right. We met at a nightclub where she worked, but at first, that didn't bother me. I saw something special in her, something that made me believe she was different. I went against what my family said and ignored my friend's advice, because, to me, what mattered was how she treated me. I took her out of that environment, thinking I was helping her start fresh and
see, usually that's a big mistake because that's a big adjustment for the girl. She used to having guys throw money at her for whatever she's going to do for these guys versus going to a legit living and earning from an on-the-clock job. It's like, what the hell is this?
build a better life. I believed all she needed was a chance to be loved and to create something real. In the beginning, our marriage seemed fine. She was still attentive and appeared grateful for what we were building together. But it didn't take long for things to change. She started showing a side of herself that I hadn't seen before, a side I couldn't recognize. She became increasingly dissatisfied. Nothing I did or provided was ever enough. She wanted things I couldn't give: trips, expensive bags, jewelry, a lifestyle I couldn't afford. Her standards were sky high, and it felt like I could never meet them. She began complaining about everything, comparing our life to others.
And see, that's what a lot of people go through when they get serious with somebody. A lot of times in their relationships, they'll compare your relationship that you have going on with each other with their friends' relationships, which seems to be more posh. Our other friends are driving around in Mercedes-Benz expensive cars and everything while we driving around in this crappy Accord. Yeah, a lot of this is normal. This happens all the time. And that's why a lot of these girls rather stay single and be sex workers until they can't do it anymore, because they get fast money and they can pretty much splurge and buy what they want. But then a lot of times these women don't invest the money into something for themselves in the future either. Either they gave all their money to their family or they just spent it all on materialistic things, plastic surgery, etc., etc.
It was as if she was still living in the world she had left behind, surrounded by luxury and excess. Over time, it wore me down. I tried everything I could, but I couldn't make her happy. Our marriage didn't even last a year. She filed for divorce, saying our life was too ordinary, that she couldn't see herself living this way forever. It broke me. I realized that even though I had taken her out of that environment, I couldn't change how she viewed the world or the values she held on to.
It's called jaded. That's what I was saying earlier in this video. When you take these women out of that lifestyle and you're trying to tame and mold her into what the world is really like, but then she's not used to that. Because now, a lot of these women, they don't have any real job history because they got into this type of work at a young age. So here you come trying to put her back on her feet and make her into an honest woman when she's not used to being honest.
Looking back now, I understand it better. It wasn't just about her or me. It was about the environment she came from, the things she had grown used to seeing and having. When you're surrounded by that, easy money, constant attention, material things, it's hard to adjust to a simpler life where everything has to be built step by step. So, if there's one thing I can tell you, it's this: the environment shapes people in ways we can't always change. I learned that the hard way. So think carefully before ignoring the signs. Love isn't always enough to fix everything.
Nope.
This really, even if you have a lot of money, I advise you not to pursue girls who work in nightclubs. The guys watching my video have probably fallen for it. If you've ever said, he's actually kind of pitiful. He's not like the others. If you've said those two sentences, the guy won't turn back until he gets hit hard. Now, let me tell you why you shouldn't pursue girls who work at night. First, most of the girls working in nightclubs are like this because they lacked love since they were young.
Ooh.
Maybe their family favored boys over girls, or their parents were too busy working, without time to care for them. When they grow up, they easily don't value themselves. Getting involved in the nightlife, accompanying meals, drinks, and fun. Second, these girls are used to having men spend money on them.
Well, not just the nightclub girls, just women in general. I mean, the generation that we're in the sugar baby era. So this is by default anyway. it's just more fun when you could do it with this type of lifestyle, because these women are having fun and making money at the same time, so it doesn't feel like real work. This is not real work to these girls. This is why they're so accustomed to it, because they can make a living off of having fun. But see, this lifestyle is usually short term, unless they're going to spend a bunch of money on plastic surgery to keep up as they age. And as we all know, if you do a lineup in a place, the youngest and most beautiful women are going to get picked every time. And eventually you're going to have an attitude because nobody's picking you because you're older and you don't look as good as you did.
They can smile and don't care about their reputation. They don't have family values. As long as another man is nice to her, she can easily ditch you. Third, they are selfish, only thinking about their own interests. They don't know gratitude. They can't love others. When they are with you, you're the one always giving, while she's just taking. So where is the happiness in that? Fourth, these girls are used to making quick money. Even if you want to teach them a legitimate way to earn money, they don't want to use their brains. They stay a long time, without doing anything. And in the end, the result is they go back to the nightclub.
Let's just say you was in prison for most of your life. Soon as you graduated high school, you did some stupid shit with your friends and you took the blame for it. So now you got to spend the next 20, 30 years behind bars. And then when you get out, it's like a whole new world. The world is completely different from when the time you went in. And all you're used to is prison life. See where I'm getting at? It's the same thing with these women. Sometimes they end up going back. You might do something stupid again and go back to jail because you just can't handle the real world. So,
back to their old ways. Follow the content. Maybe soon you'll be out of your single situation.
The men behind nightclub girls. Nightclub girls can be said to be numerous, like in Vietnam. Let me give an example. A girl working in nightclubs for 3 years, working 20 days a month. That's 240 men in a year, and over 700 men after 3 years. Surely, a cinema wouldn't be enough to fit them all. A 5-star banquet hall would probably be packed. You'll probably say, there will still be familiar, repeat customers. Of course, but this definitely doesn't affect the final number. We might think, after coming into contact with so many men, will they still need a boyfriend? In other words, will they still have the need for a boyfriend? Many girls in these places actually have boyfriends. I'll say there are 3 types. The first one is typical. I know a girl. She's very beautiful. She has a lazy, good-for-nothing boyfriend. Spends hours at home playing video games. Does nothing else. Just plays and sleeps. The girl works at the nightclub to support him.
if you ain't got a girl that's doing that, she don't love you.
Drinks too much, comes home after work. No matter if it's windy or rainy, she goes home alone.
And also, these are the type of guys that women can control. The absolutely good for nothing guys that just stay at home and do shit. That's not a good position to be in.
The second type. The girl has a boyfriend who is a sick husband. Their relationship is limited to the entertainment environment. And the last type. The girl works at the club and her boyfriend also has his own things to do. I know a girl. Her boyfriend every day works outside, doing driving services. Sometimes I wonder, what kind of persistence would make a man accept a girl like this as his girlfriend? Unable to give her what she wants, but can't let go. I think 0.4s. Maybe they just haven't met the next person yet. I am a nightclub guy. If you're interested, you can come find me for a drink.
Holla at Ricky 10, and he'll tell you all the insides and outs of the real nightlife. This doesn't really pertain to massage girls as much, which these women are more ran through.
The search of some men for nightclub women reflects a much deeper need than just momentary pleasure. For many, these women offer an escape from the routine, a way to run away from everyday life. Buying expensive gifts like cars and houses isn't just about pleasing them. It's an attempt to control pleasure.
Oh, they're so beautiful. But see, the problem is the guys that are actually buying these women gifts, they don't respect these guys. So if you're going out to enjoy the entertainment establishment where these women are at, and you're spending money to have a good time, that's cool, but that's going against the grain if you're buying these women gifts, because you know they don't care about you, and they're trying to buy respect by giving them gifts, and they don't care. So if you spend any more than you have to on these girls, then it's just shame on you.
To feel that with money they can have whatever they want, even love and attention.
No respect.
But what are these men really looking for? Many are dissatisfied at home. They've married women who, over time, have changed. Perhaps their wives no longer have the body they once did, or maybe the routine of family life has cooled the relationship. That's why they seek something new, something that nightclubs seem to offer: pleasure without commitment, without responsibility.
And see, the whole point of going to these establishments is to wind down from a long, stressful day at work, or maybe you were just bored and you wanted to take a night out in the town. I mean, of course, when you go in, you're going to spend some money. So just leave whatever you got going on there. But if you're trying to move it more to a personal level, you're kind of pushing it.
First, these men know exactly what they want. Quick fun, a moment of pleasure. But as the visits continue, something changes. With each encounter, they start to get more involved.
Uh-oh.
The young, attractive women do everything they want, and over time these men begin to believe these women actually care about them. They know these women are there for money, but as the visits become more frequent, they begin to delude themselves. They start thinking that the women's interest is genuine. This is the turning point. Quick pleasure transforms into an illusion of love. These men begin to believe the woman they're with, who at first was there for a price, is now in love with them. They distance themselves from reality and let themselves be carried away by the fantasy that, deep down, she truly cares.
Listen, if she don't leave those industries to be in a real relationship, she don't care about you. But there's guys that are willing to date these women while they're still doing this. And it's just crazy.
The saddest part is that by giving in to this illusion, these men end up distancing themselves even more from their marriages and real relationships. They trade the chance to rebuild a genuine relationship for a fantasy where the only thing that matters is instant validation. They become prisoners of a vicious cycle where momentary pleasure ends up costing much more than they imagined. Loneliness, disillusion.
And I notice it's the married guys that are giving up more than the single guys that participate in this. Because most of the single guys already know what's up. Because see, single guys usually have a limit to this versus the married person that gave their wife everything. They're trying to give another woman everything that they gave their wife, and the person is still not going to respect them. Oh boy, you guys are in trouble. Anyways, this is Kyle Vale. Let me know if you liked the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Have a good one. Happy Saturday.